Welcome to USA Biz Party. I am here with Esther Ocampo, all the way out of Ireland, and the lovely Catherine Lang from Tennessee. We hope to be joined later by Mr. Tom. What's Tom's last name again?
Read.
Reed. That's right. Tom
We
Reed.
won't tell him.
Just for the record, I'm a little further south.
Oh, you're in Alabama?
Alabama.
Oh, I thought you were in Tennessee. It doesn't matter.
They won't let me
This
in
is
Tennessee.
USA. They won't let you in Tennessee. They have border guards looking for you, Catherine. Okay. But we're USA Biz Party. We talk about all things business. We are currently talking about the entrepreneurial mindset associated with leadership. This week is going to be a fun week. We're going to be talking about growth. How do we foster growth in our company? And in the research that I've been doing, really it's all about how we approach success and how we approach failure. So we're going to get into that. If you're enjoying this conversation, then I ask you go ahead, subscribe, click and subscribe, and then click on that little bell so you get notified every single time that we go live on YouTube and LinkedIn and X. So, oh my goodness, and we are full today. Awesome. There is our friend Tom, our leadership expert. Thank you, Tom, for joining us today.
Howdy.
And Tom's joining us from Texas, just like Anna is. So
yes,
I'm the
not
only
too
one
far.
outside of the USA today.
But she has lots of roots here in the American continent because she comes to the United States on a regular basis, as well as Tijuana, Mexico. So, but we were just talking about how we're going to be talking about developing a growth-oriented mindset today. And I'm really excited about this because we're going to be referencing a couple of books. One book is Mindset, the new Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. She really spans a number of disciplines. This particular book that I have was printed in 2006, so I'm sure she may even have a more recent edition available. And then some of my favorite podcast hosts, Ryan Hawk is one of them. He wrote the book, The Score That Matters. They talk quite a bit about failure and how to deal with failure in that book. So we're going to be referencing those books today. And I suppose in the comments we could put in there how people can get those books. I don't have an affiliate link, so I won't get any monetary benefit. But if you find this discussion helpful, you will enjoy those books because they go deeper into these topics.
Got there, Tom?
Uh-oh.
What have you got there, Tom? Go on.
Just this little tome that I found laying around the house here.
Oh, right. Yes.
Bring it closer. The background is keeping it blurred.
I can show mine. Mine's just over there.
Catherine's got hers. I'm the only one. Tom, where's my copy?
Send me an address.
Will do.
And of course, we do have the WBS for sustained leadership. So people are looking for sustained leaders, people who can lead them through change. And if there's anything that's going on today in the economy across the world, we're not just talking about the United States, is that there is change. And if anything COVID taught us, it's the importance of responding to dynamic environments with a growth mindset. So last week we had a great discussion about leadership. This week we'll be talking about a growth-oriented mindset. And our first talking point is going to be embracing change and innovation. So let's talk about how can we welcome change and discover strategies that can foster a culture of adaptability, not just maybe in our own organization, but across the board. Especially because I know Tom is an instructor. He is teaching people about leadership and contracts. Even the world of contracting gets pretty complicated and requires being present in the moment, watching how things can be changing. So who would like to start our discussion about how to welcome change? Now, don't everybody jump up.
I had the opportunity during COVID to read this book. And if you have not heard of the Savannah Bananas, you need to go look them up. They are on ESPN now. They are changing baseball. And if there was ever a place that I would not have suspected that someone could change, it would be baseball. And they changed the rules, they changed the atmosphere, they changed the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, you go to their arena and it's a one-shot deal. You pay one fee and you get food, drinks, entertainment, everything for one fee. And it's affordable fee. And the whole idea, their whole marketing strategy was fans first. And so it's a different mindset. It's a change. And that allowed me, he gave me permission to see things differently, to see things not the way that they was ordinary and expected, which is great for me because I'm so far from ordinary and expected. It was really hard.
That you are. I actually have both of Jesse's books. So Fans First, it is a great book. It's really about changing mindset. When he took over this ball team, Jesse, by the way, I've had the pleasure of meeting Jesse in person. I've worked with Jesse. He's amazing. He's the same person on the stage as he is off the stage. He is a great, great guy. His first book, though, is Find Your Yellow Tux. Find Your Yellow Tux. And so often, instead of welcoming change, we want to conform. The feel is I want to conform to whatever's going on. And if you ever meet Jesse, you will in public, he will always be wearing his yellow tux. He and his wife and their creative geniuses took this from being just a college football or a college baseball minor league team or something like that to being a phenomenon, to the point that the MLB was getting ready to block them because they have an entertainment mindset. They were looking to create entertainment, not necessarily a winning ball team. They were just learning. They were just wanting, and they would sit and they would just think, what is the craziest idea you could come up with? And then they'd analyze it and they'd go, okay, is that feasible? And they did it. I mean, so Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have like their cheerleaders are from the local long-term facility care?
They have the Nana Bananas, which is some of their cheerleaders. They also have the men, and I forget what the men are called, but now they have, I think, 4 teams that travel around. But they'll try anything. They don't analyze they try it.
That's true. That's right. They don't do an analysis.
They try it. And if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't, they learn from it and they go on. And we can learn so much from that mindset. Instead of saying, let's analyze it to death, they jump in with both feet and they try. And he said the number one thing that he regretted doing was having a dance off at because they have a halftime show in their baseball game, and they had a dance off with women that were 8 months pregnant.
That's different.
And on hindsight, that was probably a bad idea.
But they learn it. We're going to talk about learning from failure here shortly. Tom, what is your take?
This would totally be this would totally be like they talk about types. So type A would be very much rigid and stick by the rule book, and type B would be just do it and see what happens. So it's definitely like it wouldn't work for everybody to just try it and see what clicks, or would it?
But it could. I mean, most people will not try enough. Most people are afraid of failure, which we'll get to. So you have to be open to possibilities. You have to be open to trying new things. Um, and that's, you know, when let's talk a little bit about a growth mindset. So before we do, though, Tom, we would love your input on this one.
Well, I have to confess, I'm not familiar with those books or the people. I stopped watching baseball the year they decided that their strike was far more important than the World Series. And I tend to have little patience for such things and literally walked away, never went back. Despite being a phenomenal fan of the old Baltimore Orioles in the era of Earl Weaver and Boog Powell and Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson and Jerry Adair, I mean, down the whole lineup. So I was a big fan, but I walked away from it. And I think that's a lot of the problem with the major league sports. But I wanted to turn my attention more to the idea of change. You know, we say that the only constant in life is change. And, you know, the irony of that statement isn't lost on people. But the fact is, nothing is ever the same. And we have a whole ton of sayings that go with it. You can't go home again. Well, yeah, you can go back geographically, but it's not the same. It never is. And so when you think about change, the idea, and from the sustained leadership viewpoint, is you have to accept that change is going to happen. And it's going to happen with you or without you. It's going to happen. And the question then becomes, well, then do you simply let change happen and follow it wherever it leads? Or are you the guiding force behind making the change? And that's the key distinction, that you can manage change in a way that you make the change. And a perfect example is any of the companies that deal in technical excellence and, you know, the Apples and those people of the world. The point is that every product they make will be made obsolete, given it will happen. So why not they be the ones who make it obsolete? And sure enough, what does Apple do every year? New model. What are the new features? Oh, there's no new features, not this year, but it's a new model, and you got to have the new model. And you see how they just keep taking their customers along for the ride as they manage the change. And so from a leadership perspective, it's always important, in my belief, that you identify what's happening in the world, you see what changes are coming, going to happen anyway, and then find ways to put yourself in the flow of that change. Whether you're the leading person on Chat GPT and you make the most fantastic queries for any Chat GPT, but still right now, a lot of people don't even know what that is. And so you can really lead well if you develop a little bit of foresight, a little bit of planning. You build your own talent stack so that you're capable of injecting yourself into that flow of things, and then manage the change as best you can in your favor.
You know,
You couldn't see us,
really,
but we were all nodding along in the background. We were all
we were. And getting to this book, I'm going to read it. It's just a short piece out of this book, but she uses Jack Welch of General Electric as an example of a leader in the growth mindset. So the growth mindset is one that's not a fixed mindset. You know, we're talking change. And thank you for that, by the way, Tom. I took some notes here. We want to identify what's coming down the pike. We want to identify the change we want to help make, and then we flow with that change. And the example of Apple is a perfect example. Carol Dweck says that true self. So sometimes people think, well, I have to just be confident all the time, and that can bend toward cockiness. But Carol said that Welch learned that he was too full of himself. So he got to the point where he was on an acquisition roll, and he felt he could do no wrong. Recipe for disaster, right? Then he bought Kidder Peabody, a Wall Street investment banking firm with an Enron-type culture. Enron, another 4-letter word here. It was a disaster that lost hundreds of millions of dollars for GE. What he learned is that true self-confidence is the courage to be open, to welcome change and new ideas, regardless of their source. So I think that works well in what we're talking about and being open. So the growth mindset is all about being open to um, to new things, because essentially what we believe is going to affect our actions, and our actions have consequences, which then create new opportunities or challenges for us to have to deal with. I recently, so I'm working through a huge project right now, and I got to the point that I thought, oh, we're just not going to make it. I was actually expecting to lose this project. And I was talking to my mentor, and he goes, Anna, can we talk for just a minute? And I'm like, oh, sure. Like, you're going to tell your mentor, no, I really don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm going to be a growth mindset person. I'm going to listen, right? Well, he said, Anna, it sounds like you're expecting this to fall through. I go, no, 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 no. I'm not expecting it to fall through. I just really want to be prepared if something goes sideways. He goes, expect it to move forward, and it will, some way or fashion. Even if the sideways thing starts to go wrong, with an expectation to take the situation and fix it, there's a whole lot more opportunity there than if you just sit there and go, well, I knew it was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. So our mindset, so this, again, the entire book, the name of the book, and it's in the chat there, Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. She's PhD. I think she's at Stanford. It goes into a lot of depth about the importance of how we view things and how we frame things. And speaking of how we frame things, let's move on, because a lot of what we're talking about also touches greatly on failure, how we handle failure. And so who would like to jump in for that one right away? Esther?
Well, saying as been called out, I will. You pressed the wrong button on it. Saying as I've been called out, I will start. Failure and learning from it. It's something that we hate doing, isn't it? We hate failing, and then we hate learning from the failures, because then it really drives the message home that what has happened is actually a failure. We can try and disguise it. We can try and see the bright side of it. We can try and say, oh, well, it could have been worse, but really at the end of the day, it is a failure. It is something that has not resulted in the desired effect. So it might not have cost you money. It might not have cost you your reputation. It might not have cost even a lot of time, but it did not have the desired effect. So that's effectively what makes it a failure. It's but when we learn from our mistakes, and as Catherine pointed out, one of Jessie Cole's mistakes of doing a dance off with 8-month pregnant women, I mean, I could have seen lots of issues with that as having had children myself. So, just thinking off the top of my head, any one of them could go into labor at any time, let alone any other issues if they fall, if they hurt them. Anyway, there was obviously not a lot of input from other people with that one. But sometimes when we go head first into something, we don't get advice from other people. We don't listen to our mentors like Anna did. We don't listen to even our other colleagues by saying, oh, well, actually, it's not the right time to do that. I have a friend who recently launched a course, and usually her clientele is mothers, but she launched it just at the beginning of Easter holidays. So where are the mothers? Offline, outside with their kids and doing lots of things. So she got a completely different outcome by having different people sign up for her course. It wasn't a total failure, but she didn't get what she wanted from it. So now she has learned to put all the school holidays into her calendar. As she's not a mother, she didn't have it top of mind or on her radar. So all of these things can help us in the long term if we learn from them. If we just go, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I've got these other people now on my course and I'll just target them in future anyway. And I don't need my original, fan base, or I don't need, like with the Savannah bananas, is that what they're called? I've heard of them even over here on this side of the pond. I'm a big sports fan, so I've heard of them. And I think what they've done is amazing by putting fans first, because a lot of sports team and here over here it's all football, soccer, and the money and everything is, new season tickets, and the cost is just extortionate. I don't know how people can actually afford to go and buy, especially in this current economic climate. But a lot of businesses aren't looking outwards, they're looking inwards and going, well, we need this amount to stay profitable. We need this amount to pay our staff. We need this amount to, expand the business and grow. They're not looking at who their audience is or who their customers are, and whether or not it's still feasible and viable with lowering wages or higher cost of living or more expensive everything at the minute, whether their audience is still able to purchase from them. So I think it's definitely a good idea to take a step back from time to time and analyze why it went wrong and where it went wrong.
Yeah, that is real important, because self-awareness, understanding how that a difference that gives you the opportunity to do something different the next time, because these opportunities are going to continue to come up. The same thing. Do you have a tendency to be impulsive? Is that what you need to curb? Or did you wait too long and you really need to make a decision more quickly? So those are just some of them. I am really curious about Catherine and Tom. I'm just going to share. Yes, I want to share something out of the book, The Score That Matters, after we get their input. So, Catherine, you're up.
One of the big things that I have always told my children and anyone that would listen to me is that the only time you fail is when you don't try. That everything else is a learning opportunity. So even if you do something and you don't try to learn from it, that is how you fail in it. As long as you are invested in learning, then you will continue to grow into what you are uniquely designed to be.
I agree with Catherine completely there. In every experience, you either win or you learn. And you can celebrate the win or you can celebrate the learning, often much more valuable to you if you take part in that. I know some of you have heard my story about this before, but one of the very last efforts I made in editing the Sustained Leadership book was I went through and did a complete word search for the word fail or failure. And what I discovered was that I had used it the way we colloquially do, when I realized that that's not a failure. 90% of those things are merely setbacks. What do you do with a setback? Well, you learn from it, as Catherine was pointing out. Then you replan, and then you start again smarter because you learned. And that's the constant growth pattern you need to be on. I agree with the concept. You never fail till you give up. And that's what you say. If you're still trying, you're not failing. Now, there are times when a certain path isn't going to work, a certain tactic, a certain strategy. And it's okay to say that tactic failed, that strategy failed. That's fine. But you learned from it because you watched it fail in a way that it could not be recovered or should not be continued. Learned from that, incorporated that into the next plan, started again smarter. And if you follow a pattern like that, which stems solely from just reframing how you think about these setbacks, you can just experience so much growth. And as I mentioned in the first segment of this, that also puts you in line to manage the change that's coming anyway, because you learned from it.
Excellent. Yeah, that is, I love that, tying those two concepts together. Um, and let's that so looking at it, reframing it. Also, there's just sometimes the feeling that we have that comes from the disappointment or the frustration or just the pain that comes when something doesn't go the way you hope or expect it to. And so this again comes from the book The Score That Matters. And one of the people that are quoted in this book, it's they have a um, they have a T-shirt. It's not one of the authors. It's a guest they had, but it has on it the F it button. Okay, before you think I'm cussing, I'm not. It's the forget it button. The forget it button. So on this particular team, this individual had these T-shirts made for, I believe it was a woman, had this made for the team, and they wore it when things went wrong. So, the yeah the the Florida Gators track team, whenever they would have a failure, whether it was a big one or a small one, and what they would do is they simply would slap their chests and leave the failure behind, focusing on the next move. And then that important, it's just got to focus on the next move. They would go around, do high fives to each other to put it behind them so that they could focus on the next move. And I remember watching, it was a Super Bowl game. I don't even remember who the quarterback was, but I mean, I watched this quarterback get sacked a fair number of times, but he never, I mean, yeah, it seemed like his team was making the same mistakes again and again and again. But what I saw him reset himself after each sack, reset himself. And in this particular game, he actually led the team to victory. So, and that's the mindset of a quarterback in football. You can't stay in what went wrong. You have to continue focusing on what's going to go right, what you know you can do the next time to avoid that problem and create a new opportunity. So I love it, the F it. People can take it the way they want. I'm saying forget it. Move on. I have seen that in my own life quite a bit. Yes, sir.
Um, I got to jump in with one thought. It's exactly what
Yes.
you're talking about, and you're absolutely on point with it. We've all heard that saying about in order to excel at anything, you have to put in 10,000 hours. You've all heard that kind of a thing. I think it comes from Gladwell. But somebody shared a twist on that with me that I thought was so important. You watch an ice skater do these fancy ice skating moves, and what you never see is how many times they fell flat on their butt doing that. And the point is, if you just spend 10,000 hours doing the exact same thing, as Einstein pointed out, you can't expect a different result. You're going to get the same result. And so it's not a matter of spending 10,000 hours doing the same thing. It's 10,000 hours of doing something different each time that improves it, which is the point I think you were saying as well, Anna.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Well, I would add perfect intentional practice makes perfect. Intentional. What do I need to change when I do this again? So, as a martial artist, I'm learning something new right now. And so I go through and I do a practice and I go back and I make sure, did I do everything the way it was intended to be done? And I find that I have to make some adjustments. And being in the martial arts for over 15 years, you would think that I've mastered. I'll be honest, I wear the title master. They actually say in the martial arts, you are a novice until you've been in the martial arts 20 years. So that just goes to show you how much you have to be intentional in changing what you're doing wrong to get that perfect practice. And then you have to put in the time. You do have to put in the time. The quarterback that gets sacked, he can't do the same play again because the opposing team already knows what he's going to do. In the same way, we can't do the same thing that led to the results we don't want. We have to see, and sometimes it's just a minor change. Maybe it's a small change. Um, I'll be honest, that's why I have advisors, because they see things different than I do. I pay them good money to steer me well so that I'm not making the same mistake twice all the time, right? So, gosh, lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff here. I think this one we could have talked the entire time about, but take all of this in account. And thank you for sharing, Catherine and Tom. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Esther? No. Okay. Our final
No, I
talking
think
point.
everyone has covered all the like minor, or the getting down to the nitty gritty. So all the minute details of, yes, if you do the same thing over and over, you will get better at it. But if it's not the thing you need to do, then you're not going to see any difference. And definitely being intentional about what you do then will make a big difference in that.
Also, I just want to throw in there that sometimes we do not make so sorry. Sometimes we do not make the time to analyze or to figure things out. So journaling, if you're not journaling on a regular basis, kind of puzzling out how things should be, it really helps. I mean, recently something happened and I was quite upset about it, but I started to journal. I started to look at it, and then as I was journaling and I got some things out on paper, I realized that it helped me to change my perspective on the situation and also a different way to approach the situation. So use journaling to help you take the time, go walking, do whatever you need to kind of sort through the feelings that come with that unexpected circumstance, that unexpected or unwanted result. And then pat yourself on the back for that. Remember, you're in a learning situation. Um, and just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. Let us encourage you. Keep going. What is it Winston Churchill said? If you find yourself in hell, just keep going. Oh, well, our last topic is about setting ambitious goals. So that's interesting, because a lot of times we think we're setting ambitious goals. Maybe we're not being as ambitious as we think we are, or maybe we're overreaching and we're setting ourselves up for more learning opportunities than we want, aka failures. Who would like to comment on that? Now, by the way, thank you for joining us. Those of you who have just joined us, uh, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you find this content valuable. Click and also hit that notification button so that you are notified whenever we go live on YouTube, LinkedIn, or X. Right, who would like to start with setting ambitious goals? There we go. Love it.
Yes. I have a whiteboard of world domination. I am one of those freaks that can over aim, and it doesn't hurt my feelings. I shoot for the stars so I can land on the moon. I believe in big dream goals that are a little bit impossible and a little bit scary. But that's because I give myself permission to learn as I grow, not learn as I go, to learn as I grow. I'm always growing into those big dream goals. And I do have big dreams. My biggest dream right now for my aspiration, stewardship, transformation, fellowship, I have 4 areas. Aspiration. Oh, by the way, I'm looking at my whiteboard of world domination. Aspiration is to engage 1 million people in 2025. That leads to a monthly income exceeding $20,000. And my transformation, because I was sharing this earlier, is to lose the baby weight. And for those who don't know, my youngest son, is 19.
And the thing is when you have big goals, when you have big goals, then if you fall short a little bit, so let's say Catherine only makes $18,000 a month, would that be okay with you, Catherine?
Today, no. December 31st, we can talk.
Oh, okay, okay. Tom, how about you? Tom, you're muted, my friend.
I thought you guys handled the mute and unmute. Sorry about that. I first learned about BHAGs from Jim Collins in his book Good to Great. BHAGs stand for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals. And he's a big fan of those in the sense that you got to have wild dreams. You got to have really great ambitions to make these things happen. And what I found in mentoring and coaching and working with other people, that an awful lot of people do have those, and they can articulate them. Here's the problem. They see this goal, and they see this straight line path to get there that doesn't exist, and they haven't planned for it, and they haven't gotten their roadmap out, and they haven't looked at all the roadblocks they're going to run into. I mean, they're going, well, see, these goals are useless. These goals, they just never come. Well, yeah, if you don't handle them right, if you don't pursue them, and the people forget how much hard work, or to use my ice skating metaphor from before, how many times you got to land flat on your butt till you figure out, this is how I'm supposed to proceed. This is the lesson to be learned. And so many of us, and I'm guilty of this as much as anybody else, I spend a lot of my day just kind of beating my head against the wall. And people say, well, why are you beating your head against the wall? I say, because whatever I want's on the other side of this wall. And they're like, there's a doorway right there. Why don't you go around? And it's like, you don't see that. You just beat your head against the wall. And as some people would say, but it feels so good when I stop. Yeah, it does. But you got to get on with your goal. You got to have that roadmap. You got to understand how much work you really have to put in order to get to that big goal. And when I first met Catherine, she introduced her whiteboard of world domination to me. And we've talked a lot about it through our friendship over the years in helping her get there. And that's one of the things I love about her, because every year she redoes it, she updates it, she takes what she's learned, she's incorporated into it. And every year, and you may laugh about this, every year she's further from her goal. You say, well, that's ridiculous. Why shouldn't you? No, because she keeps growing her goal. Her dreams keep growing. And I just love that about her.
Catherine is phenomenal. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to say you hit on so many wonderful points there, Tom, where people don't go big enough, or they don't go hairy enough, or they don't go audacious enough. They go safe. And Catherine said the same. The people are just, they set a goal that they can attain. So they set one that said, I want to talk to 3 new people a week. Well, walk out your front door and you probably attain that in the next 30 minutes, depending on where you live. But they might not be the right kind of people. They might not be the right audience. They might not be, you have to define your goals. It's not enough to just say, I want to earn $20,000 a month. You have to know where it's coming from, how it's coming, what you need to do to get there. It's not just going to magically, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not just going to magically land on your doorstep or in your bank account. You need to put in, I'm sorry, Catherine, you need to put in the hard work. You need to be doing something different and something extra. And our good friend Elaine Lindsay talks about 1% more every day. Do 1% more effort every day, and that will really start to show and make a difference. And having your goals without them being smart. So you hear about SMART goals all the time. I always forget. Just recently did a podcast on this and I messed up all the letters. So correct me if I'm wrong. So they have to be, what was the S?
strange,
Specific.
tempting.
Okay. They have to be specific. Like I said, it's not just enough to say, I want to earn more money each month. They have to be, I want to earn 5,000 more this month, 10,000 more next month, or a specific number each month. They have to be specific. Timely, yes.
Time bound.
Yes. So with a specific thing. So you can't just say, I want to talk to 3 new people. By when? How are you going to do it? Are you going to pick up the phone? Is it going to be before 5 o'clock today? Is it going to be before the weekend? Is it, time it so that it's something that you can hold yourself to. Is smart. We're skipped letters again. I did this the last time too. Measurable. Go and listen to the podcast. It'll be you'll notice that I do it there too. They have to be measurable. So how are you going to measure that you're getting 5,000 more each month or 20,000 a month? You check your bank account. How are you going to measure that you've talked to 3 new people this week? You check your call logs, or you check your emails, or you write it down as to who you've spoken to. Attainable. You have to have a way of getting them. There's no point in saying, especially like for myself, I want to go to the moon. 1, I don't want to do that. And 2, how on earth would I ever get to do that? I know they've recently had that, flight around 11 seconds or something, or 11 minutes. That's not attainable for the majority of the world. So maybe like 0.01% of the population could ever attain that. It's not, I'm never going to be a top athlete. I'm never going to be, there's lots of things that I would love to do, but I'm never going to, no, Catherine, I'm never going to be a top athlete, even in darts or snooker. But you have to know your limitations as well, is for that one. R. What was the R? At least I'm getting them in the right order this time. R. Really should have written these down.
I'm going to say reasonable. I kind of take exception to that, because if you're too reasonable, some people will think, well, you want to be a reach. I think it's reach. You have to make it so that it's a reach. You have to.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that one. We'll go with that one. But you get the idea. So you have to have them either written down or somewhere visible. Like Catherine has her whiteboard of domination beside her there. I find that if I don't write it down or make a vision board, it's never going to happen. But something better than that would be to tell other people, because then you'll be held accountable, and they will go, well, have you talked to those 3 people today that you said you were going to do? Did you make that 20,000 this month that you said you were going to make? Did you write that chapter of the book? Did you, and the list goes on as to things that you can do. Okay. Catherine's wanting to jump in there.
Well, no, I just want to say that you could. See, I used to use that. I'm 5 feet even. And I would always say I could never be a professional basketball player. And then I got to thinking about the Harlem Globetrotters. And I was like, if I got to the place where my vertical leap was 3 feet, then, they'd give me a job. I mean, could you imagine a mother of 3 kids in her 50s doing a 3-foot vertical leap? Of course I could be a professional. Am I gonna? Not a chance on God's green earth, because I'm not going to put in the work that's required. So there's a difference between being able to and whether or not you will.
Very true. Very, very true. Very, very true. In the striving for our goals, we want to we need to make sure that it's tangible. We need to make sure that it's visible. We need to make sure it's measurable. And we also need to have grace in case we don't quite make it. But then if you're operating from a growth mindset, maybe the path, Tom mentioned it earlier, the path to success is not a straight line. The path to success is often fraught with hairpin curves. The path to success is often fraught with dropping off the side of a cliff, having to pick yourself back up, refigure where you are, and move forward. The beginning of this year, I had a very clear path to success. I knew what I wanted to make in the company. I had my budget all set. 4 months into that, my client came back and said, "We're going to do things different, Anna. This is how we're going to do it. And oh, sorry, you have to work through other people." That felt like a cliff moment, like I was at the bottom of the cliff. And we've been having to re-strategize. We've been having to do things a lot differently. But the end goal is going to be that maybe the success isn't going to look the way I thought it was going to look. I'm still going to have that success. It's going to look different, than the path is different. Um, but I still have my big, hairy, audacious goal. And we want to be sure that we're staying in the present moment. We have all of these plans, but that we don't get caught up in the fear of failure, but that we stay present in the moment. When things don't go our way, we do the F it, forget it, or whatever you want to say, and we move forward. Because the bottom line is, as business owners, as leaders in our own right, whether we're leaders in our family, we're leaders in our community, we're leaders in our business, or we're leaders wherever we are leading, other people are looking to us to be the example. They're going to look to us to say, what are we going to do with this situation? So when everything changed with my client, my message to my team was, you know what, this is something we've always wanted. Even though, I'm going to be honest with you, I'd come home and I'd shake in my boots. So I thought, what if this doesn't work? But to my team, I said, this is what we've been wanting. And so we have to change our tactics a little bit, but we're going after this just like we've gone after everything up until this point. And it's working. It's working. I'm very excited. As a matter of fact, somebody's already come back to me and said, "Hey, can you help us in this city?" Yeah, I can. I absolutely can. And it's opened up tons of opportunity. So, um, in conclusion, let's just bring everybody back really quick. In conclusion, we have talked about embracing change and innovation, and with that, how to turn failure into learning experiences, as well as setting ambitious goals. I'd like to just go around the panel and ask for final comments. Let's start with Tom.
I was afraid you were going to do that. Um,
It's a learning experience, Tom.
yeah. And as the only guy on the panel, I know why you're picking on me, and that's okay. Um, my mind had wandered a bit because I remember doing my research for sustained leadership. Like everybody, I've heard all about the SMART goals. But if you ever want a fun exercise, choose your favorite web search engine and ask it to look up SMART goals. There are at least 23 different variations on that of what the S, the M, the A, the R, and the T all stand for.
24 if you include mine.
Yeah, probably so. It's kind of like Enron. There are 20 some different ways to account for revenue under generally accepted accounting principles. And of course, Enron found one more. It did serve them well, but nonetheless, that same can be true of the many different ways of looking at the SMART goals. But it's kind of a fun exercise, because when you put all those words together that these searches come up with, you're like, well, all of them apply. A really audacious goal has got to have a lot of different variable metrics, if you will, on how you count success. And we get to define success our own way. In any improvement process, self-improvement process, it doesn't mean, and I think Anna expresses extremely well when she's talking about her business, I want to make $1 million next year. Great. And yes, that's a nice goal. And what if you only make $10 a month next year? Well, that's a start. It's like, well, maybe, but what was your real metric? What was it you really were attempting to do? And how do you define success? Personally, if my goal is $1 million and I'm making 10, which is kind of real life as I think about it, but that's not success yet. I'm not there. I need to be there at the definition, my definition of success. And so when you're setting your goals, and again, SMART is a good acronym to use for it, but just think about the fact that you are the one that gets to decide that. You get to decide what makes you a success, or as I often like to say, what is it that makes you the best possible version of you? Because you're the only you. You're the only you that ever was, only you that ever will be. And so, by definition, right now, you are the best you've ever been. And you're also the worst you've ever been, in the sense that you still got room to grow. And you still can improve, build your talent stack, and come up with new ways of being you. And I guess that's kind of the closing thought, that it all starts with you. And if you don't define it well, if you don't follow it well, if you don't put in the work, when it's all done, you can, well, karma was against me. No, you're lazy, or whatever the issue is. It's you, and you have to fix you, and you can achieve just stellar things if you focus on that.
Preach it. That's all I got to say. Just preach it. That is that. Don't even try to set a goal if you haven't defined who you are and what you want to achieve. If you haven't defined your success, you can't get there. You don't know where you're going. Have you ever started on a trip and not known where you're going? Look, I've done that. I actually played a game in high school where we put two people in the front seat. One would be blindfolded and the other would be doing the brakes. And it never worked out well. Not only did we not end up where we wanted to go because we didn't know where we were going, but we often ended up running over a curb or into a ditch. So instead of letting some blindfolded crazy person drive your car, define where you want to go, define who you are, and then set the goals and make those intentional, purposeful actions to get there.
I'm going to continue with the driving metaphor, just purely because it is a journey. Okay. And a lot of people hate that word of, oh, life's a journey, and the journey that I'm on. It's a journey. And even though you set out with the best intentions and you set out with your goals and your strategies to get there and everything, you will hit the speed bumps. You will hit the potholes. You will need to be diverted because there will be roadworks to fix the potholes and put in more speed bumps. But if you don't have the gas in the tank that you need, and that can come from surrounding yourself with the right kind of people, it can come with the knowledge that you build, it can come from many different places, but having that gas in your tank and stopping to refuel when you need to, taking breaks, getting more knowledge, having the time to just take a step back and go, is it all actually working? Okay, just consider it like a big, massive road trip that will have its problems. You will fight with your co-pilot. You will, whether that is your spouse or the other partner in the business. There will be arguments as to how you get there, but the most important part is that you make it. And as Catherine says, if you aim for the stars and land on the moon, that's fine too, because you're still a lot further from Earth than you started off.
Yes. So thank you for all of that. Embrace change. Don't be afraid of change. Yes, it can be scary, but use that fear to fuel your energy to find solutions. Don't be afraid of failure. I'm going to quote from the wonderful Tom Reed in his book, in which he says, how do you develop good business judgment? Through education and experience. Eventually, you must actually perform. I'm jumping around a little bit, Tom. It is on page 466 if you want to follow along, read along there. But good business judgment, education is important, training is important, but the only other way to gain good business judgment is by exercising or learning from others who have exercised bad business judgment. And he goes on to share some examples. you're going to fail. You're going to have opportunities to learn something different. Pick yourself up. Forget it. Figure out what you need to do different. Take actionable steps and keep moving toward that big, hairy, audacious goal. You will be surprised at what you will do if you will swallow your fear and you will take even just one small step. One small step. You'll be surprised. In the things I've been through the last few weeks, I'm surprised at the changes that I have enacted in my company that I never thought I would have to, and actually was afraid to do. But I'm doing them now with much more grace and ease, and it's benefiting everybody who's dependent on me for employment, for investing, for all of the things I do through my company, as well as for the charities that I support because of the work that we do. So next week, Esther, we're still going to be talking about leadership. And I was trying to find the list of what we're going to be talking about next. Give me a moment and so I can find it. But it's we are going to be continuing to talk about entrepreneurship in the light of leadership, because this is an extremely important topic. Almost half of all businesses in the United States are small businesses. That's quite a number. And so we hope that you will draw encouragement from this broadcast with us. And then I'm still trying to find that list of what we're supposed to be bringing. We're supposed to be talking. I should have had it. Ready already, right? So another learning opportunity. But thank you for joining us. We are so glad that you chose to be with us today. All of our viewers, feel free to comment. We will respond. And next week, we will continue this topic of entrepreneurial challenge, entrepreneurial growth, entrepreneurial leadership. Make it a great day.